A humble waitress helped an old man walking in the rain. The next day, he helped her save her job. Rain poured down like tiny rivers from the dark sky. The streets were empty. Most people were warm and safe inside their homes. Sarah was driving her old truck home after a long day at the diner where she worked. Her back hurt. Her feet hurt. Every muscle in her body screamed for rest. She had been on her feet for 12 straight hours, serving plate after plate of food, forcing a smile even when customers were rude or left no tip. But she always smiled anyway because that's the kind of person she was. The windshield wipers squeaked back and forth, fighting against the heavy rain. Sarah's eyes felt heavy. She just wanted to get home, take off her shoes, and collapse into bed. Tomorrow would be another long day. Another day of wondering if she had done enough. Another day of worrying about her mother's medicine. Suddenly, through the rain and fog, she saw something that made her heart stop. An old man was walking on the side of the road. He was soaking wet. His suit was dripping with water. He carried a brown briefcase and held his hand to his head like he was in trouble. Something about the way he walked made Sarah's breath catch in her throat. He looked defeated, lost, like a person who had given up hope. Sarah didn't think twice. She pulled her truck over to the side of the road. The rain splashed against her windshield so hard she could barely see, but she could see enough to know this man needed help. Her grandmother's voice echoed in her mind. "Baby, when you see someone hurting, you don't look away. You help. That's what good people do." Sir, are you okay?" Sarah called out through her open window. The old man looked up. His face was tired and sad. Water dripped from his gray hair. His eyes held a pain that went deeper than just being cold and wet. He looked lost, like he didn't know where he was or what to do. For a moment, he just stared at Sarah, like he couldn't believe someone had actually stopped. "Please get in," Sarah said warmly, leaning over to unlock the passenger door. "Let me take you home. It's too dangerous out here. You'll catch pneumonia in this weather." The old man hesitated. His hand gripped the briefcase tighter. He didn't know Sarah. Why would a stranger stop to help him? In this world, people don't just help anymore. They keep driving. They look the other way. They protect themselves first. But something in Sarah's eyes told him she was different. She genuinely cared. There was no hidden agenda, no suspicion, just pure, honest concern for another human being. So he opened the truck door and climbed inside, leaving puddles of water on the floor. His hands were shaking, whether from cold or emotion, Sarah couldn't tell. "Thank you," he said quietly. His voice shook a little, and Sarah noticed tears mixing with the rainwater on his face. "My car broke down a mile back. My phone died. I've been walking for almost an hour. I tried to wave down cars, but everyone just kept going." Sarah's heart broke hearing this. She reached behind her seat and pulled out an old towel. "Here, dry yourself off. Don't worry, sir. You're safe now. Where do you live? I'll take you there." The old man took the towel with trembling hands. "You have no idea how much this means to me," he whispered. "Today has been the worst day of my life." As they drove through the storm, Sarah didn't ask for anything. She didn't pry into why today was so terrible. She didn't ask who he was or why he was out in such terrible weather. She just wanted to help. That's who Sarah was. Someone who saw people hurting and did something about it. The old man told her his name was Mr. Harrison. His voice cracked as he explained that he'd been having a really bad week. His wife had passed away 6 months ago. His children barely called anymore. His driver had quit that morning without notice, leaving him stranded after a business meeting. Everything seemed to be going wrong, but Sarah's kindness on this rainy night reminded him that good people still existed in the world. "My wife always believed in the goodness of people," Mr. Harrison said softly, staring out the window at the rain. "I told her she was too trusting, too naive, but maybe she was right all along." Sarah felt a lump forming in her throat. She thought about her own mother lying in bed at home, sick and depending on Sarah to take care of everything. "I think your wife sounds like a wonderful person," Sarah said gently. When they reached his large, beautiful house, the kind Sarah had only seen in magazines, Mr. Harrison was shocked that Sarah had driven so far out of her way. The GPS showed she'd added 30 extra minutes to her trip home just to help him. She would get home after midnight now. "How can I repay you?" Mr. Harrison asked, reaching for his wallet with desperate urgency. "Please, let me give you something. Anything. You've done more for me tonight than you could ever know." Sarah shook her head and smiled, even though she could really use the money. Her rent was due in 3 days, and she was $50 short. "No, sir, I don't want your money. I just hope someone would do the same for my grandma if she needed help. We all need help sometimes, right?" Those words hit Mr. Harrison like a thunderbolt. Tears filled his eyes again. This young woman, who clearly didn't have much based on her worn uniform and old truck, had stopped to help him without expecting anything in return. When was the last time someone had shown him such pure, selfless kindness? As he stepped out of the truck, he looked back at Sarah one more time, memorizing her face. "What's your name, young lady?" "Sarah Mitchell," she answered with that same warm smile. "I work at Martha's Diner downtown. You know, the one on 5th Street with the blue sign?" Mr. Harrison nodded slowly, committing every word to memory. "Thank you, Sarah Mitchell. You're an angel, a real angel. I will never forget what you did for me tonight." Sarah drove away into the rainy night, watching Mr. Harrison's silhouette disappear in her rearview mirror, not knowing that this one simple choice would change her entire life. As she drove home through the storm, Sarah whispered a little prayer. "Please let tomorrow be better. Please let me keep my job. Please." She didn't know that someone was about to answer that prayer in a way she could never have imagined. Before we continue, let us know in the comment section, what time is it and where are you watching from? And remember to like and subscribe so you don't miss the rest of the story. Now let's continue. The next morning, Sarah woke up with a terrible feeling in her stomach. It felt like she had swallowed rocks. Today was the day. The day her boss, Mr. Peterson, was going to decide who to keep and who to fire from the diner. She had barely slept. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw her mother's face, worried and pale. She heard her mother coughing in the next room. She thought about the bills stacked on the kitchen counter, each one screaming for attention, like hungry babies. Business had been slow at Martha's Diner for 3 months now. A new fancy restaurant had opened across the street, stealing customers with their shiny tables and expensive menus. Money was tight, and Mr. Peterson had told everyone that 3 people would lose their jobs today. 3 people. And Sarah was terrified she would be one of them. Sarah needed this job desperately. She was taking care of her sick mother at home. Mama had diabetes and heart problems. The medical bills were piling up like mountains Sarah could never climb. Without her job at the diner, she didn't know how she'd pay for her mom's medicine or keep food on the table. They were barely surviving as it was. She got dressed in her orange work uniform, the one with the small stain on the sleeve that never came out no matter how many times she washed it. Her hands were shaking so badly she could barely button it. She looked at herself in the mirror and whispered, "Please, God, please let me keep my job. Mama needs me." I can't let her down. Her reflection stared back at her, eyes red from lack of sleep and worry. When Sarah arrived at Martha's Diner, the air felt heavy, like a storm was brewing inside the building instead of outside. Everyone was nervous. Her co-workers barely talked. They all just did their work and waited. Waited for the axe to fall. Waited to see whose life would be turned upside down today. Jenny, the youngest waitress, was crying in the corner. Marcus, the cook, kept dropping plates because his hands were shaking. Maria, who had worked there for 15 years, sat in the break room, staring at the wall, silent as a ghost. Sarah tried to focus on her work, but her mind kept racing. What would she tell her mother? How would they survive? Where would she find another job? Then Mr. Peterson came out of his office. His face was serious. Stone cold serious. He looked around the diner, and Sarah felt like she might throw up. "Sarah Mitchell," he called out, his voice cutting through the silence like a knife. "Come to my office, now." Time seemed to slow down. Sarah's heart dropped to her feet. This was it. She was getting fired. She could feel it in her bones. The other waitresses looked at her with pity in their eyes. Jenny grabbed her hand and squeezed it quickly before letting go. Sarah's legs felt like jelly as she walked slowly to the office, feeling like she might cry. Her hands were shaking. Her breath came in short gasps. When she stepped inside, she saw Mr. Peterson sitting at his desk with his usual frown. But he wasn't alone. Sitting in the other chair was the old man from last night. Mr. Harrison. Sarah gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. Mr. Harrison? What are you doing here? Had something gone wrong? Had she somehow gotten in trouble for helping him? Her mind raced with terrible possibilities. Mr. Harrison stood up slowly and smiled the warmest smile Sarah had ever seen. His whole face transformed. He was wearing a fresh, expensive suit now, dry and perfectly pressed. Hello again, Sarah. Mr. Peterson cleared his throat, and Sarah noticed something she had never seen before. Fear in his eyes. He was nervous. Why was her boss nervous? Sarah, do you know who this is? Sarah shook her head, confusion mixing with her fear. He's Mr. Harrison. I helped him last night. His car broke down. This, Mr. Peterson said, his voice shaking a little, is Mr. Richard Harrison. He owns the company that owns this diner. He owns 15 diners across the state. He's my boss. And your boss. And everyone's boss. The words hit Sarah like a physical blow. She actually stumbled backward, grabbing the doorframe for support. What? Sarah couldn't believe what she was hearing. Her mind was spinning. The man she'd helped last night, the soaking, wet, defeated old man walking in the rain, wasn't just any old man. He was rich. He was powerful. He was the owner of everything. The big boss. The man who signed everyone's paychecks, including Mr. Peterson's. I don't understand, Sarah whispered, her voice barely audible. Mr. Harrison stepped closer to her, and she could see his eyes were red, like he'd been crying. Last night, I was at my lowest point. My driver quit without warning. My car broke down in the middle of nowhere. My phone died. I was cold, wet, and alone. And I'll tell you something else. Sarah, I stood on that road for over an hour, and dozens of cars passed me. Dozens. People looked right at me and kept going. Some even sped up, like I was trash they didn't want to deal with. His voice grew stronger, more emotional. I was the owner of a restaurant empire, worth millions of dollars, and I was nothing but an invisible old man in the rain, forgotten, ignored, abandoned. And then you appeared like an angel sent from heaven. Tears filled Mr. Harrison's eyes as he continued, and Sarah felt her own tears starting to fall. You didn't know who I was. You didn't care if I was rich or poor. You just saw a human being who needed help, and you helped. No questions asked, no payment wanted, just pure, beautiful kindness from the heart. Sarah's own eyes filled with tears. Anyone would have done the same thing, she said softly, not believing her own words because she remembered Mr. Harrison saying that dozens of people had passed him. But they didn't, Mr. Harrison said, his voice rising with emotion. He pulled out a handkerchief and wiped his eyes. Dozens of cars passed me on that road. Families in minivans. Young people in sports cars. No one stopped. No one cared. Except you. You were the only one. The only one who saw me as a person worth helping. Mr. Peterson spoke up, and Sarah noticed he was sitting up straighter than she'd ever seen, like he was at attention. Mr. Harrison came here at 6 o'clock this morning, Sarah, before we even opened. He drove here specifically looking for you. He wanted to thank you personally. But there's more, Mr. Harrison said, pulling out a piece of paper from his briefcase, the same briefcase he'd carried in the rain. His hands were steady now, no longer shaking. Last night I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about you, about your kindness, and I made some phone calls. I learned that jobs were being cut today. I learned that you might be one of the people losing their position. Sarah nodded, unable to speak. The tears were flowing freely now, running down her cheeks and dripping onto her orange uniform. Well, that's not going to happen, Mr. Harrison announced firmly, his voice filled with absolute authority. Not only are you keeping your job, but I'm promoting you. As of today, you're the new assistant manager of this diner with a salary increase of 50%. Sarah's legs felt weak. The room started spinning. She had to grab the desk to keep from falling over. What? I can't. This is too much. I don't understand. It's not enough, Mr. Harrison said gently, placing a hand on her shoulder to steady her. What you did for me last night reminded me why I started this business in the first place. It's about people. It's about community. It's about caring for each other. Somewhere along the way, I forgot that. I got so busy being successful that I forgot to be human. He continued, and his voice cracked with emotion. I'm also setting up a special fund for your mother's medical bills. I want you to focus on your work and your family, not on worrying about money. You'll receive a letter from my lawyer this week with all the details. Sarah couldn't hold back her tears anymore. They poured down her face like the rain from last night. Her whole body was shaking. Thank you, she sobbed. Thank you so much. I don't know what to say. My mama needs her medicine so badly. I've been so scared, so worried. Mr. Peterson was smiling too, something Sarah had never seen before in 3 years of working there. You deserve this, Sarah. You've always been our hardest worker and our kindest employee. I should have told you that more often. Mr. Harrison reached into his pocket and pulled out a small card. This is my personal phone number, Sarah. If you or your mother ever need anything at all, you call me. Do you understand? Sarah nodded, clutching the card like it was made of gold. She couldn't stop crying. Happy tears, grateful tears, relieved tears. All the fear and worry that had been crushing her for months suddenly lifted, like someone had removed a 1,000-pound weight from her shoulders. Word spread quickly through the diner about what had happened. Within minutes, everyone knew. Sarah's co-workers came up to her one by one, hugging her and congratulating her. Some of them had tears in their eyes too. You always helped everyone, said Maria, one of the older waitresses who had been at the diner for 15 years. She grabbed Sarah's hands and squeezed them tight. Even when you were tired or having a bad day, you still smiled and asked how we were doing. You covered my shift when my grandson was born. You loaned me money for gas when I was broke. This blessing couldn't have happened to a better person. Jenny, the young waitress who had been crying earlier, hugged Sarah so hard she could barely breathe. You're the only person who was nice to me when I started here. Everyone else made me feel stupid for making mistakes. But you taught me everything with patience. You're like the big sister I never had. Marcus, the cook, brought out a plate of Sarah's favorite breakfast, pancakes with extra syrup. On the house, boss lady, he said with a big grin. Sarah felt overwhelmed by all the love and support. She realized that kindness really does come back to you. Not always in the way you expect, but it always comes back, like ripples in water, spreading out further than you can see. Mr. Harrison spent the rest of the day at the diner, talking to employees and customers. He wanted to understand how the business really worked from the ground up. He sat in Sarah's section and ordered coffee after coffee, watching how she interacted with people. And every time he looked at Sarah, he smiled, grateful that he had met someone who reminded him of what truly matters in life. He saw how Sarah remembered regular customers' names and their usual orders, how she asked about their families, how she made everyone feel important and seen. She didn't just serve food, she served love and attention. Before he left that evening, Mr. Harrison pulled Sarah aside one more time. The diner was closing, and the last customers were heading out the door. Sarah, I want you to remember something important. What you did for me wasn't just about giving me a ride. You gave me hope. You reminded me that there's still goodness in this world. You reminded me of why I wake up every morning. Never stop being who you are. Sarah wiped away fresh tears. I won't, Mr. Harrison. I promise. My grandma always said, baby, you don't need a reason to be kind. You just be kind. I guess I never forgot that. Your grandma was a wise woman, Mr. Harrison said. I wish I could have met her. She would have loved you, Sarah said with a smile. 3 months passed. Sarah settled into her new role as assistant manager like she'd been doing it her whole life. She used her position to help other employees who were struggling. She created a schedule that worked better for parents who needed to pick up their kids from school. She started an employee appreciation program where each month one worker got a special bonus and recognition. She made sure everyone got breaks and decent meals during their shifts. The diner became more successful than ever. Customers noticed the positive energy. They noticed how happy the staff seemed. They noticed how everyone genuinely cared about providing good service. The reviews online went from 3 stars to 4.5 stars. Lines formed outside during breakfast and lunch hours. Sarah's mother's health improved dramatically because she could finally afford the medicine and treatments she needed. Her cough disappeared. Her energy returned. She could actually get out of bed and sit in the garden again. Sarah moved them into a nicer apartment with 2 bedrooms instead of 1, so her mother had her own space. Life was getting better every single day. But Sarah never forgot where she came from. She still drove the same old truck. She still stopped to help people on the street who looked like they needed assistance. She donated part of her salary to a local charity that helped families in need. She volunteered at a soup kitchen on her days off. One rainy night, exactly 1 year after she'd helped Mr. Harrison, Sarah was driving home from work. Through the rain, she saw a young woman standing by a broken-down car, holding a baby. The baby was crying. The woman looked terrified. Without hesitation, Sarah pulled over. "Are you okay?" Sarah called out through her window. "Do you need help?" The young woman looked up, relief flooding her face like sunshine breaking through clouds. "Yes, please. My car died and my baby is crying. I don't know what to do. My phone is dead and I don't know anyone in this town. We're just passing through and—" "Get in," Sarah said warmly, unlocking the doors. "I'll take you wherever you need to go. Don't worry, everything's going to be okay." As the young woman and her baby climbed into Sarah's truck, Sarah smiled to herself. She was doing it again. Helping someone without expecting anything in return. Just like she'd helped Mr. Harrison, because that's who Sarah Mitchell was, and that's who she would always be. The young woman thanked Sarah over and over as they drove through the rain. "I don't know what I would have done if you hadn't stopped. Most people just drove past me. Some people honked like I was in their way. I felt so alone." Sarah reached over and patted the woman's hand. "You're not alone. None of us are really alone if we just remember to help each other." Sarah thought about Mr. Harrison's words from a year ago. "Most people did drive past me too," he had said, but one person stopped. One person cared, and that made all the difference in the world. "Don't worry," Sarah told the young woman. "We all need help sometimes. I'm just glad I was here when you needed it." That's what life is all about, being there for each other. Sarah's story spread throughout the community like wildfire. Local newspapers wrote articles about the humble waitress who became an assistant manager because of one act of kindness. The story went viral on social media. People from other states sent Sarah letters and emails, telling her how her story inspired them to be kinder. People in town started treating each other better, inspired by Sarah's example. There was a noticeable change. More people stopped to help stranded drivers. More people volunteered at shelters. More people smiled at strangers and held doors open. It was like Sarah's kindness had planted seeds that grew into a garden of compassion. Mr. Harrison visited the diner regularly, at least twice a week. He and Sarah became good friends. He often said that meeting Sarah changed his life as much as it changed hers. It reminded him to be humble, to be grateful, to never forget that every person matters, no matter who they are or what they do. "You saved me that night," Mr. Harrison told her once over coffee. "Not just from the rain. You saved me from becoming someone I didn't want to be. Someone who had forgotten how to care." Sarah kept a small note in her wallet that Mr. Harrison had written for her. It said, "Kindness is never wasted. It always finds its way back to you, sometimes when you need it most." Whenever Sarah had a hard day or felt discouraged, she would read that note. It reminded her why she did what she did, not for rewards or recognition, but because it was the right thing to do. Because her grandma had taught her that being kind costs nothing but means everything. Years passed. Sarah eventually became the general manager of 3 diners in the company. She trained other managers to lead with kindness and compassion, not with fear and pressure. She created programs to help employees who were struggling financially or personally. She established a scholarship fund for employees' children who wanted to go to college. Mr. Harrison retired at age 75 and gave Sarah even more responsibility in the company. He made her vice president of operations. He trusted her completely because he knew her heart. He knew she would always do what was best for people, not just for profits. And it all started with one rainy night. One old man walking alone. One waitress who chose to stop. Sarah often thought about how different her life would have been if she hadn't pulled over that night, if she had been too tired or too busy or too scared. She would have driven past Mr. Harrison just like everyone else did. But she didn't, and that one choice changed everything. Sarah got married a few years later to a wonderful man named David who shared her values of kindness and service. They met when he came into the diner looking for a job. He had just moved to town and didn't know anyone. Sarah hired him as a cook, and they fell in love over shared meals and long conversations about making the world better. They had 2 children, a boy named Robert and a girl named Grace, and Sarah taught them the same lessons her grandmother had taught her. Always help people who need it, she told her children every night before bed. Don't judge them by what they look like or what they have. Don't ask what's in it for you. Just help because it's the right thing to do. Be the person who stops. Be the person who cares. Her children grew up watching their mother live those values every day. They saw her stop to help strangers. They saw her give money to people who were homeless. They saw her volunteer at shelters and food banks. They saw her treat everyone with respect, from the janitor to the CEO. And they learned that a good life isn't measured by how much money you have or how successful you are. It's measured by how many people you help along the way. It's measured by the smiles you create and the tears you dry. Mr. Harrison lived to be 92 years old. When he passed away peacefully in his sleep, surrounded by family, Sarah was there holding his hand. In his will, he left a significant portion of his estate to create the Sarah Mitchell Foundation, a charity that helps working-class families who are struggling financially. She saved my life with kindness, his will stated. Now let her kindness save others. At Mr. Harrison's funeral, Sarah gave a speech that made everyone cry. She talked about the night she met him, the night that changed both their lives. She said that Mr. Harrison taught her that one act of kindness can ripple outward in ways you can never imagine. He was just an old man in the rain that night, Sarah said through her tears, standing at the podium looking out at hundreds of people. But he became so much more. He became a friend, a mentor, a father figure, and all because we both believed in the power of kindness. He never forgot what I did for him, and I will never forget what he did for me. But more importantly, I will never forget the lesson he taught me, that kindness is the most powerful force in the world. Today, Sarah is 65 years old. She retired from the restaurant business but continues to run the Sarah Mitchell Foundation full-time. The foundation has helped thousands of families pay medical bills, keep their homes, and get back on their feet during hard times. They've given out over $2 million in assistance. The diner where Sarah once worked as a waitress is still open and thriving. There's a large plaque on the wall that tells the story of Sarah and Mr. Harrison. It reminds employees and customers that kindness matters, that one good deed can change lives, that heroes don't wear capes, they wear orange uniforms and drive old trucks. Sarah's children followed in her footsteps. Her son Robert became a doctor who provides free medical care to low-income families. He runs a clinic in the poorest part of the city. Her daughter Grace became a social worker who helps children in foster care find loving homes. Sarah's mother lived to see her grandchildren grow up, thanks to the medical care that Mr. Harrison's generosity provided. Before she passed away at the age of 87, she told Sarah how proud she was of the woman her daughter had become. "You didn't just change your own life," Sarah's mother said, holding her daughter's hand on her last day. "You changed the lives of everyone around you. You created ripples that will spread forever. That's the greatest success anyone can achieve. That's what real wealth looks like." Sarah keeps a framed photo on her desk in her foundation office. It's a picture of her and Mr. Harrison taken at the diner on the 5-year anniversary of the day they met. They're both smiling, their arms around each other like family, like two souls who found each other on the darkest night and created light together. Underneath the photo is the date, November 18th, 2020. The night everything changed. The night that proved kindness is the most powerful force in the world. The night that showed one person really can make a difference. And Sarah still drives that same old truck. She refuses to replace it. "This truck reminds me of where I came from," she says. "It reminds me to never forget what really matters." Now it's your turn. What do you think about Sarah's story? Would you have stopped to help Mr. Harrison on that rainy night? Have you ever had a moment when a small act of kindness changed your life or someone else's? Have you ever been the person who needed help and someone stopped for you? Share your thoughts in the comments below. We love hearing your stories of kindness and hope. And if this story touched your heart, don't forget to subscribe to Emotional Stories for more amazing, heartwarming tales that will make you believe in the power of kindness. Hit that notification bell so you never miss a story that could inspire you to change someone's life today. Remember, you never know when your simple act of kindness might change everything. Be the person who stops. Be the person who cares. Be like Sarah. The world needs more people like you. What will your story be?